Thank you guys. Welcome back to another edition of Two Dudes Talking 80s. I'm John. That's my boy over there. That's Lewis.
Hello.
And that's his greeting. And so today, since it's kind of a topical thing, we're getting close to it. We'll talk about one of my favorite subjects. We're going to talk about Halloween and what it was like in the 80s. Lou, what are you? Were you more a Halloween guy or were you a Christmas guy? What was your season? What was your holiday?
I dug the Christmas thing because of the toys. Toys had a lot more longevity than candy did, but Halloween's always been pretty cool as well. Just the sort of dark aspect to it.
Yeah, see, when I was growing up, I really loved Halloween. I think now that I'm older with a family, I think the Christmas thing is more endearing, but I definitely had a very soft spot for Halloween. Was Alf always on the drums, by the way?
He was not. He's making an appearance here today.
Okay. Like good. I didn't miss something. So welcome, Alf. Also very 80s. Yeah, so I was all about Halloween, and I want to talk about one of my worst experiences for Halloween in the 80s, and you're responsible for that. So you're welcome. Um,
I am
so
not responsible for this.
yes, you are. So
No.
let's talk about it. So in the late 80s, for those that don't know, Lewis and I worked together for a few years. I actually got you a job at the company, and then I ended up quitting after a couple of years. And how long did you stay with them?
Under one company name or another, 29 years.
9 years. All right. So you lasted a little bit longer than I did. And they were having a costume contest for Halloween. And this was, I guess, I'm going to guess it's around 88 or so. Um, and so I had this great idea, why don't we do Fred and Barney Flintstone? So we actually did that. And then when one of our coworkers found out, she dressed up her little daughter as Pebbles. Very cute. And we did win the costume contest. I think Pebbles put us over the top, but whatever, I'll take a win. Um, so I don't know if it was that same year or the following year, but Lewis invites me to a Halloween party. And I'm like, well, I don't really have anything. It's kind of a late notice. Why don't we just do the Fred and Barney thing again? And he agreed to do it. And I'm getting ready, and my mom mentioned to me, she goes, "Are you really gonna do this? What if it's not a Halloween party? What if it's not a costume party?" So what are you talking about? It's Halloween. Of course it's gonna be a costume party. Um, should have listened to her as she was so often right. And you show up. I don't remember if I think you picked me up and I realized immediately you're not dressed.
I was dressed. I just could not find the Barney costume, but I was dressed. I had makeup on. I had like some prosthetic eyebrow thing, and I was Frankenstein. So I had some skin in the game. Obviously, not
You
as much skin in the game as you had, but we'll get to that part.
All right, so you're in makeup and regular clothes, so it takes you like a quick wipe of the face, and you're normal. Your significant other at the time was dressed like a rocker chick, which what was the big deal about that costume? That's how everyone looked in those days. And then her friend went as a cat, which basically meant she was wearing all black, put a little makeup on her nose and on her cheeks, and had a tail. And I'm dressed as Fred Flintstone. So we go to this party, damn you. And as we get there, we open the door. Nobody was in freaking costume except for us. And of course, I'm the most extreme. And it's one of those things where, I think it was an airplane where all of a sudden you see Robert Hayes' character freaking out and the sweat's pouring off of him. I was recreating that scene in real life. I felt so awkward, and all I could hear is in my head echoing my mom going, "What do you bring a change of clothes in case it's not really a costume party?" And stupid me not listening to her. It's like, damn it, she's right again. So I'm pouring sweat, and I remember this, woman who was very inebriated was spending the whole time that night trying to look up my costume to see, if I was wearing underwear or not. It was a really good time, Lewis. So I want to thank you for that one. So that's probably my worst Halloween memory, and you're responsible for it. So I appreciate that.
I cannot. I was just passing on information that I had, and it sure as hell makes for a really good memory now.
It still doesn't. I remember just, oh man, that sweat was pouring. I was so stressed out and felt so awkward. So, yeah, that was my big memory of the '80s Halloween. Do you have any particular memories that you remember?
I'm trying to think, and I really don't. I mean, I remember in like the traditional stuff of like when we were in middle school, or yeah, it was middle school. It was me, Leon Alcantar. I can't remember the third person, but I mean, we'd go out and on Halloween and do the whole shaving cream fights and all that stuff. Um, we actually even like would get the it was like was it Brunswick or that brand of it was like the cheapest shaving cream you could get.
Barbasol?
Barbasol, there you go. At Brunswick, that's like a bowling thing. But anyway, yeah, masonry. Do you remember that?
Yes, I
Anyway,
do.
so what we would do is we'd get the Barbasol and you'd get a needle and you'd put it in the tip of the Barbasol dispenser, and then you get a lighter and you'd melt it so that it'd have a very constricting exit point so that they would shoot super far. And so we would do that, and yeah, just go to town on that. Um, to be honest, so that's all that I really remember. I'm trying to think. I had some really great times, outside of the 80s and on Halloween, the exotic erotics and whatnot, but I can't mention that because that's not 80s.
And those times best remain not discussed. I do remember middle school too. I had a friend of mine. You probably remember him, David Ellis,
I remember
and
David
he
Ellis.
he had he had one of the rare houses in San Mateo that actually had like a loft area. I think somebody had created it. And so I remember in middle school, we decided, me, David, and Rich Lopez, we decided, let's do a haunted house. And so I used to love going to Universal Studios, as I'm repping the shirt now. Um, and I had purchased a few masks there from Universal Studios. This was, obviously before the internet where you could order everything and get it the next day. You had to go to these places, and they used to sell a lot of the cool movie masks. And so I was there, and I had purchased at one time a werewolf mask, or the Wolf Man, and another time I think I had purchased a Phantom of the Opera mask. And so we decided we were going to do like a haunted house. And I'll never forget. So Richard like was dressed up, had a skeleton mask, and was like Mr. Bones, and would walk the people around like this haunted house. And at some point during the tour, I think David was dressed as I want to say Dracula, and I was dressed as the Wolfman. And we had a fight kind of similar to what you saw back in those classic Universal horror movies. We try to recreate something like that, where the Wolfman was fighting Dracula. And we had a blast doing it. We were scaring a lot of kids and everything else. And then towards the end of the night, an older group came by, and they decided they'd bring eggs. So they
Ah.
decided to bring in the eggs, and they egged us. I don't think anyone hit me. That was smart of them. And so, of course, afterwards we shut it down. We went looking for them to get our payback, and I do recall getting some payback in regards to that. So that was another memorable Halloween experience for me.
That's pretty awesome. What was the payback that you guys gonna make? Did you egg them back
I don't
or?
remember. I think we got eggs as well, and we just found them and egged them and got them back. But so yeah, it was a fun one. That was a good one. So what's your go-to Halloween candy? What when you go trick or treating back in those days, what would you look for?
Oh man, I've always been like a Snickers guy. I still love Snickers to this day. But the was it the Tiny Tots? Those were good. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones, but it's always been like about chocolate and peanuts for me. So
See, I would always look for the house that had the peanut butter cups, and then wish I keep going back to them.
Uh, Peanut butter cups, definitely good
That,
choice.
that was my go-to. Now I was discussing this with a buddy of mine last night. Candy corn, yay or nay?
Nay.
Oh, really?
Oh, total nay.
I love candy corn. I haven't
Really?
had it in years, but I thought candy corn was fantastic.
Candy corn, licorice, nah, that was always like, yeah, stay away from that stuff. But yeah, if they had Snickers and again, the peanut butter cups definitely keepers as well. And I'm trying to think of some of the older school candies. But they're not coming to me. What was those ones that oh my God, they're not that old. Well, they are really old, but I think they still make them. They are they're little square, almost really chewy toffee kind of things.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, but no, so and no licorice either, huh?
No licorice. Red licorice I can do. If it's black licorice, no.
Oh, black licorice is disgusting. And have you ever had ouzo?
Oh, don't like it. Portuguese
Yeah,
people have something very similar. It's called anise, and yeah, it's no bueno.
yeah. When I was in Greece, actually, I think I was in there in the '80s or early '90s. They, I'm assuming they still have them. Lots of ouzo bars, and it tastes like like liquor, black licorice in an alcohol form,
Yeah.
and not real good. But anyway, that's a different show subject for a different time. So, keeping with the Halloween theme, we got to talk '80s horror movies because
All
I'm
right.
a big fan of '80s horror movies. Tomorrow, I'm going to see a double bill of Evil Dead 2, along with Army of Darkness with the Q&A with Bruce Campbell. I recently saw, I saw Halloween Kills last night. So always loved horror movies. Always enjoyed the '80s horror movies. Do you have any favorites or go-tos around this time of year?
Well, definitely some of the first that come to mind is the Friday the 13th, especially the original, because I remember it just being something that everybody was talking about at school, like, after they'd seen it. Oh my God, you remember this scene and that scene? And so definitely that one. Have to mention the Freddy Krueger series,
Nightmare
all
on
the
Elm
Nightmare on
Street.
Elm Streets. Um, those are the ones that immediately pop into my head. And obviously there's Halloween. Although I don't remember too much of that one, other that Jamie Lee Curtis was in it, and it's something I have to go back and watch. I haven't seen it in a long time.
I think the original Halloween came out like in '78. And so that one kind of started the slasher genre. And then you saw the other movies, like the Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, which I thought the Nightmare on Elm Street series, the first one was really scary. And then I think it got kind of more of a comedic vibe, moving on with Freddy Krueger and his one-liners, which something I always appreciated. For me, I have a bunch of go-tos, but the '80s, The Shining is always one that I love, and I remember I saw it the first time, and I was so freaked out by those two twin girls. They freaked me out. I remember seeing that in the theater with a buddy of mine. How we got in, I'll never know. It was an R-rated movie, and the two of us went, and we were probably in middle school when we saw it. So how we saw it, I don't know, but that's definitely one I always go back to. Funny enough, I actually Nancy and I went and saw it. My wife, we went and saw it on Valentine's Day a few years ago, which is probably not the most romantic thing, but I don't really celebrate Valentine's Day, so that was a good way to spend it. A couple of my other favorites. I'm a huge Lost Boys fan. Having spent time up in Santa Cruz and the beach boardwalk, seeing all those sights always brings me back to Santa Cruz, and I love the movie. Fright Night is another one that was fantastic. I always liked them when they had a little bit of the humor in them as well. They weren't just constant, killings or whatever. And then another one, which doesn't really get a lot of love, but I really enjoyed, another Corey Haim movie, is a Silver Bullet, which was based on the Stephen King novel, which obviously ties into The Shining as well. You ever see Silver Bullet?
No, it ties into The Shining.
Well, I mean, they're both written by Stephen King.
Oh, okay, okay. I thought it was like some sort
I
of link.
think Stephen King actually likes the Silver Bullet movie, where he can't stand the Shining movie, at least, Stanley Kubrick's version. But no, Silver Bullet, obviously based upon Silver Bullet, is a werewolf story. And Corey Haim plays this kid who um I guess paraplegic. He is in a wheelchair. He's got this drunk uncle, played by geez, I'm drawing a blank. Gary Busey, perfect role for him. And he's this drunk uncle that builds him this really fast motorized wheelchair called the Silver Bullet. And so when he's out and about, he actually comes across the werewolf, and of course, being a kid, nobody believes him. And I think that's one, if you haven't checked out, definitely check that one out. Those are a few of my favorites, that I have to watch every year around this time.
Very cool. Yeah, and The Shining was a really good call. That's one. There's maybe a handful of movies. I'll say I could probably count them on one hand of movies that I can watch over and over and over. The Shining is definitely one of them. That's an absolute masterpiece. Let me ask you this, John. What about favorite Halloween costumes? Do you have any that you sort of think back on going, yeah, I really liked it when I was dressed up as X, Y, or Z?
I still tend to dress up. So, these days my go-to costumes are either will go as Lloyd Dobler from Say Anythings. I got to keep it 80s. Or what's the other one that I like to do? I have a Cobra Kai costume, so I'll dress up as a member of Cobra Kai. So those are kind of my favorites. I dressed up one year as Kurt Russell as Snake Plissken in Escape from New York. Again, keeping it 80s, and nobody knew who the hell I was, and that was really disappointing. I had the eye patch, I had everything. I went out and bought the boots, which were super expensive. That's when we ran to Marilyn Manson on Haight
Right.
Ashbury.
That's
Yeah,
right.
we ran to Marilyn Manson at one of the places where I was looking for the boots. I think where we actually purchased those boots back then. But yeah, so I always like dressing like these 80s characters. The Fred Flintstone, when my buddy joined me in the costume, was a fun one. But those are the ones that stick out to me. How about you?
Definitely when we dressed up as Fred and Barney successfully. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. And I have one, I can't remember if I wore it in the 80s, but it's definitely 80-esque, where it's the alien that attaches to your face from the movie Aliens. So is that crab looking thing that attached to one of the characters' face and was like sort of a parasite. I had that, and I really thought that was a cool mask, and I still have it somewhere. Shock, just don't know exactly where, but that was a really cool one.
I don't remember seeing you in that one, so I'd have to you'll have to break it out again and wear it for something. My
Yeah,
problem is like, could you even see with wearing that?
it was a little difficult, but because of the way that they had the legs splayed, you could actually see in between the legs, so it wasn't too bad, but you would have to keep adjusting it in order to be able to not walk into things.
All right. So, you doing anything this year for Halloween?
No. I'm old. I don't I hand out candy and that's it. There was one year this one kid came dressed up as Marty McFly. He was just awesome. I wish I had taken a picture of him, but we don't get a lot of kids that come out here. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, I just hand out candy at this point.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of kids out here either, and it always disappoints me. We were actually at the my son and I were at Disneyland the other day, and they were closing California Adventure early because they were doing a Halloween event. And you're seeing, watching all the people that come in with the costumes and everything else. It was pretty cool to see the different costumes and the creativity. not a lot of 80s. I did see one woman that looked like she was like an 80s aerobics teacher. So I thought that was pretty cool. But it seemed like everybody was Wanda and the Vision from the Marvel comics. That was a very popular one. It seemed like every other couple was wearing that one. I did see some Ghostbusters, which was cool. Ghostbusters, another one. That's another movie where, I guess it's not the scariest movie, but another one for the Halloween times that I always like to break out. Um, but yeah, I didn't, would have liked seeing some more 80s. We need to bring them back. You
Yeah,
know.
for sure,
So
man.
if you went out, what 80s costume would you like to do that you've never done?
That I've never done. That's a tough one. I enjoyed doing Boy George. That was fun.
That was
Uh,
awesome.
that was a lot of fun. Both times that I did it. Actually, 3 times that I did it. Um, that's a good question, man. I'd have to give that a little bit of thought. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of costumes I wish I had done back in the day. 80s wise, I don't know. I think I'd like to, I'll have to grow out the hair a little bit, a lot of bit. I always wanted to do the Jack Burton from Big Trouble in Little China.
Nice.
I mean, that's a pretty safe costume to do. It's easy to find the shirt. I just have to find jeans that are like 2 sizes too small and stuff myself in them because that's how tight he wore them. And then get a mullet. So, hey, that might be my next costume.
Very cool. Very cool.
All right. Well, I think we're ready for Halloween. It's going to be here before we know it, and still have a few more movies to check out. I gave you a suggestion. There's a few you need to check out as well. Hopefully, everyone has a great Halloween. If you do wear anything 80s, we'd love to see pictures of it. I know Lewis would. I would. Post a picture of you in your best 80s gear. And otherwise, Lou, anything you want to add to this?
No, man, I'm good.
All
It's been
right.
fun as
Well,
always, John.
thank you, brother. Appreciate it as always. And we'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Peace.